One of our best friends, Theo Fleury, joining us here live. Let's get him on stage. How you doing, Theo?
Great. How are you?
Good. You've been down to the Grey Eagle, I assume, in the past?
Yeah, I've spent a few hours in this place.
How are you on the gambling thing?
I'm good now.
You're good now?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
It felt kind of weird walking in here. So
I bet. Well, I appreciate you coming down.
I was like, oh, there's the dice table right there.
You like that, eh? Back in the day?
Oh, yeah, I love playing dice.
Pull that mic right up to your mouth there, Theo, if you don't mind. Yeah, so there you go. Theo Fleury with us today. Also coming up, Michael Sean Dugar of The Athletic, Seattle. He's coming up in hour 2. We're going to dig into the Russell Wilson trade. And before we go any further, you don't need to throw the graphic up, guys, but the poll question today for Capital Auto Mall Universal Collision Center is, who won the Russell Wilson trade yesterday, the Seattle Seahawks or the Denver Broncos? We just posted it, and last I saw 100% saying the Denver Broncos won it. So that's part of what we'll talk about with Michael Sean Dugar. And Dr. David Leggs coming up, professor from Mount Royal University, my alma mater, and former, past president of the Canadian Paralympic Committee. As the Paralympics continue in Beijing, we'll be talking about that. But we have a live studio audience. We've only been here a month, and we finally have the setup, Theo, that I wanted a month ago.
Yeah,
the speakers, you came at a perfect day.
Looks great.
Yes.
Should have brought my guitar.
We got a few here.
I see that.
That's going very well, too, I understand. Hey, the music and your recording. And
yeah, it's been fun. You know, I think that I guess, I'm always trying to lead by example, right? And, unfortunately, Carl Lewis wrecked it for all of us guys that are trying to be former professional athletes who became singers, Right. He ruined it for
I didn't
us.
know he was a singer.
Well, did you remember?
I knew he was a runner.
But you remember when he tried to sing the anthem at the Chicago Bulls game?
It was terrible. That part.
That he destroyed any chance of us. But, doing the album was so cathartic and so incredibly fun. When I wrote the book, that was life-changing. And then, I grew up around country music, like everybody.
Didn't we all? We're at home, yeah.
But I really grew up in country music because my whole entire family's very musical. My cousin Amber finished in the top 10 of Canadian Idol one year. So, and my fondest memories as a kid were sitting beside my grandpa, listening to him play the fiddle, and my dad was, playing the guitar.
They were actually playing it. Okay, I grew up listening to it.
Yeah, no, we come from a very musical family, and so I had a friend in Winnipeg who's in the music industry, worked for Sony Records, and our dads used to play music together before we were even born. And this kid, Phil DeChambeau, was a phenom hockey player, really great hockey player. And 14 years old, his mom and dad bought him a guitar for Christmas. He quit playing hockey, locked himself in the bedroom, and learned how to play this guitar for 2 years, and then got into the music industry. So shortly after my book was released, I called him up and I said, would you be interested in writing a song with me? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. So I went to Winnipeg and we spent a week together, and we wrote a song called As the Story Goes, which is basically my life in a song. And I remember when he sent it back to me, when it was all done and mastered and everything, I listened to it and I was like, wow, this actually sounds pretty good.
It had a big sound?
Yeah. Sounds pretty good. So I called him. I said, what do you think? He goes, yeah, it's great. And I said, well, do you want to keep doing this? Because I said, I'm really loving it, right? So I would go back and forth to Winnipeg. And then I had a buddy here in Calgary, an Irish guy from Tyrone, Ireland. And, we used to drink and party together back in the day. And the whole time we were, doing our thing, I had no idea he was a musician.
Didn't come up.
So we both get sober. He comes over to my house one night. We sit in my basement and we write the title song for the album in 45 minutes. And so, I spent about 6 years, we probably wrote about 30 songs and then picked the 10 best songs. And there's an unbelievable recording studio in Langdon, outside of Calgary. And so we went there, we put this album together, and Yeah, it turned out great. I think we've sold like 10,000 albums.
Wow.
Which is pretty amazing for the music industry because it's so competitive, right? And but yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Well, it's congratulations on that. And the thing, it's like this show. It's competitive in what we do.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of it's because of the help of the Calgary sports community, of which you're one, and Saskatchewan sports community. And I appreciate you coming down. But I knew this was going to be it, folks. I didn't even get a chance to say. We're going to break with the usual format, which I generally loathe. But I'll get to my quick six show topics later once Theo adjourns, because he's got places to go. Look at, he's all dressed up. There's a brand new chapter in the next unfolding, fascinating life of Theo Fleury. And what a lot of people don't understand, Theo, you and I have had these long talks, there is more to life than sports,
Yes.
and all that. And we will get to that. But it is a sports show, so I do. And entertainment, as Lee reminds me, because yesterday I had the keyboardist on from Foreigner.
Oh, nice.
That was really cool.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I don't interview guys like that very often.
That's cool.
But I want to jump out to this. Alex Ovechkin last night booed in the Saddle Dome pretty much every time he touched the puck. And I've been going off about this, railing on this. I think it's media-driven. I think, people don't like to think for themselves. They see that, we should be down on Ovi, so let's boo Ovi.
Right.
And he shrugged it off and went out and scored twice, as you saw, and they won. The Caps won in Calgary last night, 5-4. And you and I have talked about you being booed back in the day. You just rolls off your shoulders. Clearly it rolled off Ovi's.
Yeah.
But I still thought it was wrong.
Well, I hope that they were booing because he was beating the Flames.
That's not why.
But
that's not why.
Yeah, but I don't understand what Ovi has to do with, what's happening. Obviously, Ovechkin's been probably one of the greatest players to ever play our game. He has an incredible opportunity to become the greatest goal scorer of our lifetime. And yeah, it's unfortunate when politics and sports sort of meld and come together. But I got a great story. So my wife works with a guy from Russia. Came over to Canada, and
Your wife's Belarusian, is she not?
she's Belarusian.
Yeah. Belarusian. Sorry if I said it wrong.
Yeah, and so he asked my wife because his son was a big Ovechkin fan, and she said, or the guy asked, "Can we go down to the Saddle Dome and watch the Capitals morning skate?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go." So we go down there, and I call Peter Hanlon and say, I have this kid who's a big Ovechkin fan. Is there a chance we can meet him after the morning skate? And Peter's like, yeah, absolutely. So after the morning skate, I go down, and there's Ovi. And I'm looking at him, and he's got yellow laces and a tinted visor. And I say to him, you have a tinted visor and you have yellow laces? I go, where did you get that idea? And he's like, from you.
Yeah.
And then he asked me for a stick, like an autographed stick of mine. And I don't have any sticks. I haven't played hockey.
You go to Canadian Tire.
I haven't played hockey for a long time. But, he told me, he said, I was a big fan of yours, and I love the way that you played. And, and he says, how are you doing? And how's life? And, like really concerned. And, and I thought, that was really kind of cool that I sort of inspired him to, wear the tinted visor and the
Absolutely.
yellow laces. So, and I thought he was a really sweet, kind, caring guy, because he asked me about my life because he knows my story, right? So, it was really kind of cool to see that side of somebody that probably nobody gets the opportunity to see, and you know why guys have success is because they respect people, they appreciate the fans, and they're kind to everybody. And that kid got to meet his idol, and Ovi bent over backwards to make this kid have the best possible experience of his life, and that's what sports is all about. And I understand that he's probably in a really difficult situation, but it's not his fault. It's not his fault. And, politics and sports have no business being in the same sentence or the same place. And, but, we live in such a divisive environment that, we're forced to choose sides when I would say the majority of people just want to be in the middle. And, they want to have freedom of choice, freedom of speech, all of these things. And slowly but surely that's been taken away.
Well, and that's why I was upset for Ovi, because I've never met him, been around him. The Caps people swear by him. They wouldn't have made him a captain if they didn't believe in him, right, and all of that. And it just bothered me that he was being booed last night for all the things that you've just said. Right. He doesn't deserve any of this.
It's not his responsibility. His responsibility is to the Washington Capitals, the team that pays him a lot of money to perform. And what did he do last night? He went out and did exactly what he's been doing for the last almost 20 years, and that's helping his team win a hockey game.
We will. We had a few more minutes in this segment. The next, we'll get into a little more hockey stuff. But the thing is, Theo and I went through a recovery coach training academy last May. And when it was over, you and I stayed on the Zoom for a while, and we talked about the world. And you said, it's never coming back, Rod. It's too far gone. And I'm like, Theo, I can't believe that. Mm-hmm. I don't want to believe that it's too far gone. I got to think it's going to come back.
Right.
But you still think it's too far gone.
No, I always have hope.
Oh, right? You do?
Yeah, absolutely. Good. I always have hope.
Good.
It's just a matter of the collective. We need to get together and put our foot down and say, you know what? My philosophy in life is, as a citizen of Canada, I have 3 responsibilities: pay my taxes, vote, and stay out of jail. And other than that, I do not need the government making choices and decisions on my behalf. I'm very capable of looking after myself, and I'm also capable of looking after the less fortunate, because I've spent the majority of my life doing charity work, and it's probably the greatest joy I have in my life is helping less fortunate people, whether that's dealing with their trauma or their homelessness or whatever it is. And so the game blessed me with a lot of opportunities and allowed me to have the voice that I have today. And so my allegiance is to humanity. It's not to politicians, right? And that's why I've been so vocal, right? I've been so vocal because, I made a promise to myself a long time ago that if I saw abuse, that I was going to call it out, right? And that's the reason why I've sort of dug my heels in on that side of the line. And, I'm talking about, because so many people reach out to me, Rod, in the last 2 years who are struggling mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And, I've been able to connect the dots with them, especially abuse survivors, because that's what it is. The same tactics that my abuser used against me, so coercion, manipulation, all of these things, well, that's the exact same thing that the government is doing to us. And, I even had my own struggles early on in the pandemic, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And then, I went to my therapist and we talked about it, and she goes, it's very similar, the two. And so all of your abuse stuff has come back into your life. And when I was able to connect the dots, then I know what to do after that. I know how to deal with the depression, the anxiety, the fear, all that stuff, right? And most times when that happens, it's just a sign to get back to your spiritual way of dealing with life, right? And because spirituality, especially in recovery, is probably the most important piece.
Number one.
That keeps us, on the path one day at a time.
Absolutely. I love it. Good for you. And then you paid it forward with helping others.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how you stay in recovery for long periods of time is whatever you get, you got to give it away, because why would you go through all of the crap that you've gone through if you're not going to share that experience, strength, and hope with somebody else?
Unfortunately, it's such a secret, but it's not to us. If everybody did, Maybe that's how we can get the world back, Theo.
Well, I there's no doubt that the planet is traumatized, right? And I think we all at some point in our life experience some sort of trauma. Okay, and COVID-19 has been the most traumatic thing that's happened since World War II. So we already have a traumatized society. We have added another layer of trauma, and then we've isolated people. We've taken away community, so you can't go to church. All the rinks were basically shut down. And so, as somebody who struggles with mental illness, where's the worst place you can be if you experience mental illness? Well, right here.
Yeah.
Right?
In your own head, and you're forced to be in it.
And you're forced to be in it. And so, if you can get into your heart space, that's where all the good stuff is. Compassion, empathy, forgiveness, love, caring, all those things. And so, if you can get out of your own head and get into your heart space, that's where the healing is. That's where all the truth is. That's where all the answers, lie.
Folks, write this down. It's a manual here, what Theo is saying. And by the way, you're noticing the staff here, Theo, Grey Eagles congregating in front. I've said to the folks, we could make a real nice living as the house entertainment for the staff here.
Absolutely.
It's the greatest thing. They treat us so wonderfully. I read the junior scores because we're on in their dressing rooms every morning, Theo. They tell me that. And I want to bring up the Warriors.
So last weekend, 2 weekends ago, I was in Regina. And we played a couple of hockey games.
You're still going, eh?
On Ochap and Pee-Pee Kisses.
Mm-hmm.
And 4 of the greatest junior hockey players of all time were together. So Cliff Ronning, Danny Hodgson, Kenny Yaremchuk, and Theo Fleury.
Wow.
So it was kind of cool to be around.
What was the event? What was it? What were you doing?
Have you ever heard of the Rammer All Stars?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was with Merv Bondarchuk, and we went and played a couple games out there, and went to Ethan Bear's community.
Hometown, yeah.
What an unbelievable facility they got out there. It's absolutely gorgeous, and we had so much fun, and it was good to be around the guys and be in the dressing room, and it was fun.
Ken Yaremchuk, Portland Winterhawks, great, right? All those guys.
Mm-hmm.
But so Theo was saying Jagger Furcus has caught Theo's attention of the Moonshot Warriors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You think your record's going to fall?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I hope it does.
You're okay with that? Yeah. Records are made to be broken, right?
Absolutely. Well, how long had that record been around? Almost 40 years. So it's hard to believe, that my first year in the Western Hockey League was 40 years ago, and what people don't understand is I was 5'3", 125 pounds when I played my first year in the Western League, and I had 29 goals and 75 points. My first year in the Dub, and all of the heavyweights that became the heavyweights in the NHL. We're all playing in the Western.
Yeah.
Craig Berube, Ken Baumgartner,
Grimmer.
Dave Manson, Grimmer. Wendell Clark was running around in that little barn.
You just missed Dave Brown, did you not?
I missed. But I played against him when we were in the Battle of Alberta. So, it was an interesting year, and I survived, which was pretty good. But I just remember that Moose Jaw team, and three of the guys that played in my era became captains in the NHL. And I think 5 of us won Stanley Cups. Odeline, Buckberger, Keane, Jim McKenzie, and myself all won Stanley Cups coming out of Moose Jaw. So, obviously Braden Point has had a huge impact. Troy Brower,
Chicago,
there's been a lot of great players that have gone through the Moonshot Warriors organization, and I still go back every summer and play in the golf tournament, and what a great community, what a great place to.
Yeah, we just had the ads running in the commercial break. I'm like, did they just buy commercials? Mosaic, good, thank you, Moose Jaw.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I was there a couple years ago, and James Gallo, threw me a pullover, a Warrior quarter zip, which that's my thing, and I slid it on, and I'm like, ooh, this feels good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pride there
Yeah.
to wear that, the Warrior thing. By the way, Lee sent me a thing here the other day about you and Proby. What was it, Bob Probert Memories or something? It was a Twitter account. Did you see this?
I saw it.
You did?
And of course, they took it completely out of
That's
context.
not okay. So Theo lined up against Proby and wanted to fight him.
No.
That was the sense of the...
Jokingly. I would jokingly say that to him. I would be like, hey, Proby, yeah, you and me tonight at center ice. And he'd just start laughing.
And he said, you would, wouldn't you? You're crazy enough to do it.
I go, the last thing I'd be doing is dropping my stick and my gloves, that's for sure.
So they got it wrong all these years.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Proby's not around to straighten that out.
Right.
You know,
Right.
But I had a chat yesterday. I mentioned your 455 goals, Lanny's 500, right on the nose. He talked about the natural goal scorers now. And I'm loving that I can have the same chat with you today. How the game's changed. You and him were in an era, like he said, the hooking, the rodeos. Now you can't do that.
Yeah.
But the numbers are similar, right? So would you have had more now in an unobstructed game? You must have. You would, I would think.
I would think probably would get more opportunities to score. But, you know, when we broke into the game, you know, the goalies were the worst athletes on the team. And now they're the best athletes. And, you know, the way they train, you know, the coaching that they get, you know, and they're big. Like, they're big guys, you know. You look at a guy like Mike Vernon, who, you know, was a Hall of Fame goalie, who, you know, was my size, played in that era, right? So, you know, everybody asks me, what would you do now? And I'm like,
Not much different.
I don't want to think about it, because I believe that I played in the greatest era of superstars.
Oh, there's no doubt.
You know, the game has ever seen, right? And I got an opportunity to play with and play against all those guys. And you know, one of the things that I've taken away from my time and my experience was, you know, I got to hang around with Wayne Gretzky. I got to hang around with Mario. I got to hang around with Joe Sakic and Steve Yzerman, who I think probably a mess. You know, the 5 greatest leaders of our era. And I got to watch them and how they led people, you know. And, you know, me sort of stepping out of the hockey world and becoming a leader in the trauma, mental health, and addiction space. You know, I've taken those lessons and learned from them.
Very transferable, aren't
Yeah, it's very transferable. But each one of those guys was very humble, very caring, and was a great communicator and led by example, you know, and they were kind, and they made everybody feel a part of what was going on, right? And so those qualities in the space that I'm in right now have served me really well, and so it was great to be around those guys and to learn, just to learn and observe, right?
Man, I'm just enjoying sitting here listening to you talk. I don't know where to go from here. You know, it's nice because, you know, I was talking to Lanny about you yesterday, and he said Theo's doing great. And I would say to anybody watching, Theo's doing great. And when I went to your house, because Lanny said he hadn't been to your house. How long have you been in that house?
4 years.
Yeah, not that long.
No.
Because he's been on the same spot since 82,
Yeah, I know.
he said.
Yeah.
He goes, how's Theo's house? I said, oh, it's a mansion. I said, Theo, how tall are your doors? Like 10 feet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Theo peeks out from behind the door, little Theo, and he saw my face. I'm just looking like this, and he goes, oh, I didn't spend it all. You'd be very proud of that house. You must be.
For sure. You know,
Yeah.
I made some bad choices, made some bad decisions with my money, but you know, one thing I've learned in life, and especially growing up on the prairies, right? You know, the old adage of, you know, the harder I work, the luckier I get, right? And it was the same for me in hockey as well. You know, I was a really hardworking guy. I loved to compete. And you know, when I left the game, that attitude didn't leave me, right? And so I've had lots of really great opportunities over the last probably 15 years, and you know, I've really made the most of it. And you know, I have a wife who is an incredibly hard worker too. She has a great job, and our house is our sanctuary, and she's an incredible designer, and we love our house, and we don't go on vacation, so our house is like our vacation spot.
Yeah, but it is a resort though, Theo.
Yeah, and it should be.
Right, steam room, sauna, hot tub, dog shower, right? By the way, just before I move on, that Nespresso thing you got in the back, they have one here at the event center, so they call it Theo's Special Coffee. Because for weeks you were saying, come over, have a special coffee. What's so special about this coffee? It's Nespresso, which it is special. Yeah. But I thought it would take like an hour to brew or something, and you're going to grind up the beans something special.
No.
Two last things before I ask about this new opportunity for you. The Agrodome, 1985-86, when you got kicked out of the game. Yeah. I don't think I ever asked you about this. Mm-hmm. And you went off the rubber mat with your skates, and you're swinging your stick and lashing at the people who had their hands. I was there, Theo.
Yep.
Did you care if you broke anybody's hands?
No.
Like you blacked out, it seemed.
Yeah, well, you got to remember that, I lived a lot of my life with a lot of anger and rage.
Yeah,
right.
So it came out.
It just came out, and there was like this group of fans in Regina that were absolutely relentless every time I was there, and they were bullies,
Sure.
And it was my last game in the Agrodome, and I said, you know what? These fans don't deserve to see me play one last game, and so I said to the ref, I go, you got to kick me out of the game.
And he did.
He's like, what do you do? What do you mean? I go, I don't want to play tonight. And so
it was insane.
And so as I was going off the ice, of course, this was the last time that these three dudes were going to get to tear a strip off me. And so you know what I did? After I left, after that incident, I got undressed really quick. And I went up into the stands because I wanted to confront this guy who, for 4 years, called me every name in the book and all this stuff. And, I wanted a piece of him, And Eddie Staniowski, who was our assistant coach, caught wind that I was going, and he comes running down the hall, and he grabs me because I was not too far from this fan, and he grabbed me and got me out of there. Otherwise, it would have been an ugly scene.
They call him Steady Eddie for a reason.
Yeah. But
not just goaltending.
But you know what? That rivalry with Regina really made me the player that I was, and there was nothing better than a Saturday night at the Agrodome or in the Crush Can. It was more fun in the Crush Can because there was
that may be for you.
There was 3,500 seats, but there was 5,000 people in that rink every time we played against Regina, and what it really did is it prepared me for the Battle of Alberta when I came to Calgary. And I think the biggest reason why I made the Calgary Flames is because I played so well against the Edmonton Oilers. Like, I scored my first 2 NHL goals against Grant Fuhr on Hockey Night in Canada against the Edmonton Oilers at the Saddledome. And the rest is basically history. All those stats and everything came from that. But I always prided myself on the bigger the game, the better I play.
That's the greats, though.
Right?
Not everybody can do that, Theo. You know that.
But as an elite athlete, those are the games that you want to play in because you find out so much about yourself, and you find out, is there more underneath all of this that I can dig into? My greatest attribute as a player was I competed at the highest level every single night. And that's the reason why a guy like me who's 5'6", 150 pounds had success, is because I competed at the highest level.
And I was proud to watch it.
I don't see that enough in the players that play the game. Like I look at Braden Point. Yeah, he competes at the highest level. Brad Marchand competes at the highest level, where winning is the only goal, right? And yeah, you look at a guy like Austin Matthews right now. He's lighting the league up. But guess what? The playoffs is a whole different.
He's got more to give.
It's
too, I think.
it's a whole different, and people are saying he's the greatest Toronto Maple Leaf of all time. I'm like, no, he's not until he wins a Stanley
Who
Cup.
said that? I haven't heard that yet.
The Spit and Chicklets guys?
Hey,
And
they're
it's-
too young, I guess.
And it's like no. The reason why we play the game is to win. That's why you get paid $10 million a year is to win a Stanley Cup. And, that group in Toronto, the group here in Calgary, the group in Edmonton, they haven't accomplished that yet. And, the reason why I'm sitting here today is, I have a World Junior, a Stanley Cup, Olympic gold medal, Canada Cup, all these things. And, that's the greatest pride that I have in my life is that when people look at me, they say, yeah, this guy was a winner. This guy, put his body and his life on the line every single night to accomplish the goal, which is winning.
You did.
Right?
In 30 seconds, because I got to go, and you got to go, what you're doing now with a suit.
Yes. So I've been given a great opportunity by a company called First Merchants Capital Partners. They made me the president of their company a month ago, and we're in the corporate finance world. And so basically anybody can come to us with a problem, whether that's marketing, sales, tax structures, real estate, money, whatever it is, and we can solve that problem. And it's been incredibly exciting. My brain is working again, because basically for 2 years I sat in my 300 square feet of my bedroom, spending the whole entire time thinking in my head, where's my life going? Where's my life headed? Where's the next chapter of my life? And, I go to a function in Edmonton and I meet this guy named Dale Light, and we sit down at a table and he starts talking about neuroscience, and I'm like, neuroscience and financial corporate structure, but we have a little thing we call the conscious capitalism, where we want to heal people in the corporate environment, and that's where my role is to come in and help people deal with their with their issues, which then is going to improve, the quality and the team of a corporate environment. And so, I'm really excited about, the next chapter of my life and where this is all headed.
Isn't it amazing how life works? And they couldn't have hired a better guy. Love you, Theo. Thanks for coming down.
Love
and
you
for all
too,
you
man.
do. All right. The great Theo Fleury, everybody. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of The Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.